The DK32 and 50 G2 upgrade set is my first time getting a DNA design upgrade kit, so I've been really excited to see how it turns out. This set is for G2, Snarl, and Slag. Yes, I'm going to call him Slag because that's his original name. They came as a 2-pack, and so this has parts for all of them in one set. The original upgrade sets, of course, were sold separately. The first thing I noticed, even before I had this set in hand, is that Snarl seems to get a lot more attention. But that's okay, because Snarl is my favorite anyway. So, here's all the stuff you get. Snarl gets 2 copies of the gun that matches his G1 gun, with gold on the tips that matches his other gold paint pretty well. It has a hole on one side and a peg on the other, so you can attach them both to his tail in robot mode. The peg is kind of tight though, and I worry a bit about it breaking off inside that hole, so I might just not do that, though it is nice that they put some effort into weapon storage. He also gets a second sword so he can dual wield either weapon. Surprisingly, it's not exactly the same as the original, though the shape actually does match the G1 sword better. It also has this nice touch that the side peg that's for storage folds down so it's not sticking out when he's holding it. There's a pair of flame effects that can attach to the new sword. The key, by the way, is that the pegs go into the notches on the sword. And only on the new one, since the shape is that different from the original. It would have been cool if they could also attach to the guns, but the holes on the guns are too small. And anyway, the flame pegs are angled in a way that makes them less versatile. It's not the first time I've had effects parts designed at a specific angle that makes them less useful. But at least these can be used 2 ways. They can go in the mouth, which I'll get to in a minute. If you're keeping score, that's 3 weapons and 2 effects. We haven't even gotten to the fillers and stuff, and it's already more things than Slag gets. Hang on, you'll get your turn. Now, we have 2 sets of fillers. The robot leg fillers, I was really curious to see how well they would match this rather specific shade of red that G2 Snarl has. It's just a shade dark, but still pretty good. In fact, it's closer than Hasbro got with Brunt to matching Trypticon's purple, so I'm not going to complain. The filler panel isn't as snug and secure as I expected, and the left one was kind of hard to slot in, but I do like how it fits in with the molded leg detail, and what might be most impressive is that they're actually dual function, filling in a different gap in Dino mode. The downside is that it makes the transformation a bit trickier, and they cover up the pegs for storing the sword underneath. I guess that now that there are 2 swords, you want to store them symmetrically. Then secondly, some fillers for the front Dino feet. It's a decent match for the gold plastic and has some nice detail. Now, the alternate angled sword hands are kind of weird to me. They make for some cool sword pointing poses, but if you look at them too closely, I think it just looks weird that his hands are sideways. And if you don't look closely, it kind of looks like he's holding the sword between his fingers. Plus, you can almost get the same effect using the built-in wrist hinge. Yeah, that looks a little weird too, but it's no worse than the hand being entirely sideways, I think. And last, there's the piece that can hold both of the flame parts. It can go on the sword for storage, which doesn't look that great, but at least it stores them. And it goes in Snarl's mouth, so he's breathing fire, with the added benefit of helping keep his head together. Mine has trouble with that. But the angle of the flames is weird in both of those uses. It's obvious that these flames are mainly designed just to be used on the sword. They almost fit on Slag, but the pegs don't really match. Why they didn't give him his own fire-breathing effect, I'm not really sure, since he's named Slag because of his fire-breathing ability. Or at least he used to be, but I guess that's a different story. I think the best thing Slag does get is the replacement horns, nice and solid in contrast to the half-hollow originals. I was concerned about how to remove the horns without breaking anything. It turns out they're pegged in and glued on. If you wiggle them around, you can loosen up the glue and unpeg the horn. Or you can break one of the pegs in the process and end up with a broken peg that's glued in place, which you can then painstakingly remove with a knife or tweezers or a small drill bit. I tried a bunch of things. So you may or may not be able to take advantage of putting the old horns on the shield. You can also pop the tail off to make a bigger shield, and that looks like it can be done without breaking anything. Slag came with a gun, and this set gives him a sword. It's a lot bigger than Snarl's, but there's only one and no second gun, so no dual wielding for him. What Slag also doesn't get is gap fillers. I find the gaps on the backs of his dino legs to be much more of an eyesore than anything Snarl has, although with the way they fold up, I can see how it would be hard to make something that would work with the transformation. I also wish they included a piece to form the tip of the tail in place of the gun. It would be nice to be able to mount the gun in dino mode and still have a complete tail. So, that's the set. If I were to rank all the parts, I think I would put Snarl's guns at the top. They're a great upsized version of the original gun, and the only downside is the storage peg that's a little bit tight. That's pretty minor. The least successful would be the alternate hands. In theory, it's cool to have the sword pointing poses, but in practice, they just look weird, and all things considered, they're not really an improvement over what the figure can already do. And yeah, both of those are Snarl things. Slag didn't get nearly as much attention. Apparently what happened is the Studio Series version came with the Daniel exosuit figure, so the original upgrade kit had a replacement. Unlike Grimlock and Wheelie, we didn't get a G2 version of Daniel, so that was just left out of this upgrade kit as well. But that's okay for me personally, because I'm here for Snarl anyway. Thanks for watching.